Welcome in, welcome in. This is the Niner Narrative, where we bring context to the conversation. I am Chunder Boy, and I will be your host this evening. Tonight, we're going to get into one of my favorite players because he's on his way back. And I just want to go over how silly some of the numbers are surrounding Malik Mustapha. The rest of the team we'll touch on as well. Primarily, we'll get into a little bit with the 49ers quarterback situation. And we'll also discuss some of the trade options that are out there. At the end of the day, the 49ers, it is such a good time to be a 49er fan. It is such a good time to be trying to start this YouTube channel because this is a fantastic season to be a part of. The 49ers were plagued with injuries all offseason. I personally thought some of that was some of those long injury reports. Most of those guys would have played had there been a game that week. They were keeping guys out of practice and stuff, trying to bubble wrap a few guys to give them some vet days, so on and so forth. And they were being super, super cautious with a lot of guys. However, the injuries have just mounted. From the offseason into the regular season, Bosa's done for the year. Kittle's been out since, second quarter of week one. He's coming back, if not in this game, the next one. The 49ers are in a position where they've fought and scraped to get to 4-1. And they've had a lot of things bounce in their favor, with the exception, obviously, of the injuries. But they've positioned themselves with 3 wins in the division. They've positioned themselves with their only loss being against an AFC opponent. They have positioned themselves, when they get healthy, if they get healthy, to really make a run this year. It's a great time to be a 49er fan. So one of the things we are going to get into today to lead off is Malik Mustapha. Why do I want to lead off with Malik Mustapha today? Because I think he's a game changer. Other than the fact that he is a human missile, I've never seen a college player. I've never watched anybody in college play that position, come down and fill in the lane as well as Malik Mustapha, between the numbers and the hash mark. And it's not that close. The speed changes a little when you get to the NFL. It takes a little bit of time to figure out the angles, the speed of the game, so on and so forth. You're going to see some missed tackles. You're going to see some missed angles. I don't care what rookie it is. Ronnie Lott took bad angles his rookie year. Ed Reed, Brian Dawkins, they took bad angles. There's not a rookie safety in the history of the league that didn't have some really bad angles his rookie season. Malik Mustapha had very few of them, in my opinion. He's gotten some criticism for missed tackles. His missed tackle rate's not egregious. And it's actually pretty good if you consider that he was as a rookie. But we're going to spend more time on some of the coverage stuff. And I'm not even going to get into the grades and the EPA and the DVOA that I usually do. I want to show you guys a breakdown of what he did when in coverage last season. Because he is talked about almost exclusively as an in-the-box, downhill thumper of a safety. And what is being overlooked is he was one of the best defensive backs in football last year in coverage. The PFF grades don't show that. Why? I don't know. A lot of that might be due to the fact, and this is why PFF grades are not the end-all be-all. It might be due to the fact that they don't know specifically what he's being asked to do. So he may look out of position to them and get a terrible score or whatever on a play where he's actually in position. Or there might be a play where he's covering up for somebody else's mistake and gets docked for that. PFF does not know what the coaches have asked him to do. And there's a glaring difference between what the numbers show and what the rankings and gradings and stuff like that are. This is one of those situations where you have to watch the tape and you have to really look at some of the box score numbers that tell the story. I almost never tell people to look at the box score, but this is one of those situations where it paints such a clear picture. You have to look at it. We're also going to get into defensive ends and some trade options. We're going to look at, we're going to touch on the quarterback stuff because there's a couple of things. I kind of covered that pretty thoroughly last week. But with what Mac just did versus the Rams, we've got to talk about it again. There's some, with new information, you have to have a new conversation sometimes. So, sorry, give me just 1 second here. I'm just making sure I have some things in line. Okay, so Malik Mustapha. When I was looking at this, I was expecting a certain number. I was expecting some things. I thought they'd be good. I didn't think they'd be this good. So bear with me just a minute while I run through some of the numbers. I promise I won't stay on the boring numbers long. But it really stands out. Malik Mustafa's first game action last year was in week 2 against Minnesota. 3 tackles, 4 total, 0 targets in the game. Now, he only played 17 coverage snaps. Played a total of 31 snaps. Now, those are good numbers on their own, but in 17 coverage snaps, he literally wasn't targeted. This is going to be a trend, as you will see. When rookies are on the field, especially early in the season, offensive coordinators from the opposing team are trying to seek them out. They go after rookies because they feel like they have an easier chance of confusing a rookie or getting a rookie out of position than they do with a veteran. It's a very common tactic in the NFL. Everybody does it. Kyle Shanahan is one of his favorite things to do is pick on rookies or younger guys or a backup. If a backup is playing, he hasn't got much time to play. So early in the season, Malik Mustapha, week 2 against Minnesota, 31 total snaps, 17 coverage snaps, 0 targets. Week 3 against the Rams, only played his total of 6 snaps, 4 in coverage, 0 targets. Now, week 4, he got his first real action, played 64 total snaps and 39 coverage snaps. He was targeted 3 times and gave up 12 yards on 2 catches. A safety coming down to make a tackle and giving up essentially no leaky yardage is exactly what you want. They have to give up some yards sometimes, or they're not playing their position very well. Being targeted 3 times on almost 40 coverage snaps means he's where he's supposed to be consistently because they're not targeting him. And when they do target him, he comes down, he makes the tackle. Gives up no extra yardage. 3 targets, 2 catches, 12 yards. Week 5, 25 coverage snaps, 47 snaps overall, 0 targets. I'm sorry, 3 targets, 0 catches. Week 6, Seattle, 11 coverage snaps, 20 total snaps, 0 targets. You seeing a trend? Week 7, Kansas City, 2 targets, 0 catches. Week 8, Dallas, 3 targets, 2 catches, 6 yards. Through 8 games of the season, Malik Mustapha has been targeted 11 times. He's given up 4 catches for 18 yards. as a safety. As a rookie, his first half of his rookie season, he's played over 100 snaps. He's been targeted 11 times, given up 4 catches for 18 yards. That's mind-boggling. The rest of the season, Tampa, Seattle, 75 total snaps. 73 total snaps. 1 target. He does not give up another catch until he gives up an 11-yard catch against Green Bay in Week 12. On 27 coverage snaps, he got targeted 1 time and gave up 1 11-yard catch. Week 13, Week 14, out Week 15, Week 16. 2 total targets, 0 catches. So let's be totally clear about this. We're now at Week 16. He's been targeted 15 times. He's given up 5 catches for a total of 29 yards. Now, Week 17, Week 17 gives up 2 more catches on 2 targets for 20 yards. The entire season, Malik Mustapha, 409 coverage sacks, targeted 17 times, gave up 7 catches for 49 yards. That is insane. One of the best defensive backs in football last year in coverage. All anybody talks about is that he's a heat-seeking missile in the run game, that he's a box safety, and that's true. He might literally be better in coverage. I am so stoked to see this guy come back. Now, one of the problems is we don't know what he's going to look like, because Malik Mustapha hurt his knee at the end of the season last year. This is a quick turnaround. Brandon Ayuk hurt his knee in Week 7. He still isn't back. Now, there was extra damage. To the best of my knowledge, it's a complete ACL to ACL tear. The MCL was torn, but not a complete tear, I think. I don't know. But when there's extra damage, especially considering that there was damage reported to his, I believe, either his meniscus or his PCL, it takes a bit longer. I thought Brandon Ayuk would also be back this week. I thought there was a chance to be back for Week 1. I've seen videos of him cutting and turning at full speed. I don't know why they're holding him out. I don't know what's holding him back from coming back from injury. I honestly feel like there's something a little fishy going on with Brandon Ayuk, but that's another theory for another day. Malik Mustapha injured the same knee that he injured in Wake Forest. And it is it's difficult when you have multiple injuries to the same knee to maintain things like explosiveness and cutting ability. If he returns 100%, then he is an impact player. He is a force. I love Marquise Siegel. I love the way that he's been playing. Malik Mustapha and Marquise Siegel are the future of this franchise at safety. However, Marquise Siegel is not as far along. Marquise Siegel, I love you. You got to take a seat. Jason Pinnock and Malik Mustapha should be the starting safeties. Now, will they bring Malik Mustapha along, give him some play in this first game, let him knock off some rust? I think it depends on how things go in practice. But they've got 10 days to get him ready. They have 10 days to see how he responds. But make no mistake about it, the 49ers know exactly the same thing that I've seen that I saw with Malik Mustapha. His versatility, the 49ers' ability to be able to rotate their safeties and use either safety in the box, use either safety in the deep field, gives Robert Saleh the kind of flexibility that gives offensive coordinators nightmares. Malik Mustapha is not just another chess piece. He's a power piece. Mustapha is a castle running the whole board. I cannot emphasize enough how much of an impact player Mustapha was in his rookie season and will hopefully continue to be. Because if this guy gets better, Brian Dawkins is not out of the realm of comparables for Malik Mustapha. This guy is incredible. So I want to touch on a few things within the edge market. The 49ers have put themselves in a position where they're probably going to be looking to add to this team this year. I really hope the 49ers don't give up a lot of future draft capital. If they give up too much future draft capital and then don't win a championship this year, then you're putting the cart before the horse. This team is rebuilding its core. It's taking a handful of veterans from the previous championship window. It's pulling them into this championship window and trying to build a new core around them. It's Brock, Bosa, Christian, though he might be on his way out. Kittle, Trent, though he's probably on the last leg of his career. They're building a new team around that core nucleus. Who's going to be the quarterback of that nucleus? We'll talk about that in a little bit. The only thing that I don't see them spending capital at all on an offensive player. They're really big on continuity in the offensive line. So even if they did bring somebody in, it'd probably be as a depth piece, and it would probably because an injury has happened or something along those lines, or somebody's just really not performing. They love Brendel. Doesn't matter what we think. They love McKivitz, and he's probably the most underpaid right tackle in football. He's got a great price tag. He's a solid starting right tackle. He's not great. He's not bad. He's pretty consistent, and he costs you peanuts as compared to the rest of the offensive tackle market. Connor Colby looks like he can hold things down at left guard, and I really, really hope that Pooney gets his act together at right guard, and I think they believe in him. So I don't think they're going to go out and get an offensive lineman. They already traded for a backup running back and don't use him. They're going to get Brandon Ayuk back soon. They've got B.A. Pearsall, Juwan Jennings. They've got depth with Sky Moore, Valdez-Scantling, and Kendrick Bourne, who had a monster game against the Rams. That is primarily because their cornerbacks are terrible. They might have the worst cornerback situation in football. Probably not the worst, but bottom third of the league. Their corners are not good. The 49ers are probably not going to spend a lot of assets in the secondary. That is the one place that I would be okay with them giving up assets, future assets. And here's why. If you can give up like a third rounder for a premier corner who's on like the last year of his deal and you're going to re-sign him or something, you're not going to get that corner in the draft next year in the third round, most likely. Same goes with edge, and I'll get to edge in just a minute. I don't know that corner is out there, but that's one area that we could really upgrade our team. If Renardo Green now becomes the guy who subs in for an injured guy on the outside, you have a premier corner on one side, Diamador Lenore on the other, Stout in the middle at nickel. You now have Renardo Green and Luter as your depth. And Diamador Lenore kicks into nickel if you have any injuries at nickel. and you have Chase Lucas. You all of a sudden have the deepest cornerback room in all of football, and probably the best cornerback room in all of football if you get a premier corner to pair with Diamador. So that's the one reason I would consider. You've got two young safeties. You're not going to have to pay that position for a long time. Warner is paid. D. Winters is probably going to get paid, but he's not going to cost a fortune. Diamador Lenore is locked in. Stout's a rookie. Chase is not going to be an expensive guy. Luter's not an expensive guy. Green is on the second year of his rookie deal. You can spend a lot of money at corner, bring in a premier corner without affecting the math on your defensive side of the ball. With what they just did on the defensive line, bringing in C.J. West and Alfred Collins and Michael Williams, hanging on to veteran guys like Yetur Gross-Matos, who is freaking injured again. I love that guy. He's so talented. Can't stay on the field. Bryce Huff is relatively inexpensive. Nick Bosa doesn't get super expensive for another year. Talk about his contract in just a minute. So I would really feel good about the 49ers getting a premier corner to match with Diamador Lenore. Because it's not just good for them this year, it's good for them moving forward. Now on the edge. Here's a list of the 2026 undrafted unrestricted free agents. So obviously you got the Trey Hendricksons, Khalil Mack, Hassan Reddick, Joey Bosa, Malcolm Kuntz. Those are the top guys based on previous AAV, meaning of their current contract. They're on Cincinnati, LA Chargers, Tampa, Buffalo, Las Vegas. I don't think the 49ers are going to be able to swing a trade with the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders would trade him. But there's a couple more guys on this list that I think the 49ers could get that are very good. The next 6 names on the list are Danico Autry from Houston. Leonard Floyd, we know who that is, from Atlanta. Yetur Gross-Matos, our team, of course. Draymond Jones, Samson Ebukam, Arden Key. Some of these names sound familiar. The 3 that pop out to me are Danico Autry, Draymond Jones, Arden Key. Danico Autry plays for Houston. If they lose another game or 2, I can see them moving a guy like Autry and rolling some cap over the next season. Draymond Jones and Arden Key, those 2 guys, either one of them would be just what the doctor ordered for the 49ers or what they need for their defensive line. Both of them are affordable. Both of them play for the Titans, who are not going to do anything this year. Now they're building for the future. But Draymond Jones is almost 30. He'll be 29 this season. Arden Key is almost 30. He's already 29. He'll be 30 next offseason. Older players on the at the end of their deal, the 49ers can give up like a 5th rounder and go get one of these guys. You do it in a heartbeat. Immediately. Now, if you're looking for a younger guy, there are 2 guys that stick out. One is not on the end of his deal. He's got his 5th-year option coming up, and that's Thibodeau. I'm not a huge Thibodeau guy in this situation, but I would understand them wanting to go get a Thibodeau. I do think he fits what the 49ers are looking for. He's got his 5th-year option next year, and I'll explain the cap ramifications of bringing him on and signing him to a big contract if he plays really well for us. But there's a couple of guys that I want to talk about first. Jalen Phillips from Miami. Miami's not doing well at all this year. We have contacts with Miami, both in the front office and the coaching staff, obviously with Mike Daniels being there. Jalen Phillips is 26 years old. He's the kind of guy you could also bring in. He is right there with Thibodeau. Also playing on a team that's probably not going anywhere this year. Another guy that I like, though I'm not sure if we'd be able to get him, another 26-year-old, is Clavon Chasen for New England. He hasn't really done much, hasn't really popped much. He only cost $3 million, and I think he'd be a terrific scheme fit for this line. His get off is very good. Clavon Chasen he's kind of a dark horse for me as a guy the 49ers might go try to get. I think they could get him pretty cheap. Now, the last guy obviously is Thibodeau. Thibodeau has this year, plus he also has his 5th-year option next year. The only other guy I would consider is an older guy, and that's Matthew Judon. Matthew Judon is in the last year of his contract with Miami. So you get an older guy, you bring him in to just rush the passer, be a pass rush specialist. He's a one-hitter, and he only costs $3 million. And if he helps you win a championship, it's the greatest trade ever. If he's a flat dud, it costs you almost nothing. I'd explore it. Maybe there's even a guy on our roster. A Robert Beal that you could trade straight up for a Jalen Phillips in similar fashion to when the 49ers traded wide receivers with Kansas City years ago. Maybe you could trade somebody. I don't really know if there's too many more people that wouldn't hurt the 49ers to give up. That's interesting. Maybe Valdez. Somebody they might be interested in. Anyway, so at the end of the day, the 49ers, they have a lot of options here. There's 5 or 6 guys that all fit what the 49ers would want in a replacement. You're not getting Nick Bosa. You have to replace him in the aggregate with multiple bodies. What you need is a guy that wins at 5 yards. 49ers rush at 3 yards from the inside, 7 yards from the outside, that wraparound, that's Huff. So you need a guy that wins at 3 yards. We have that. We need a guy that wins at 7 yards. We have that. You need a guy that wins at 5 yards to push the pocket. The guy that wins at 5 yards was Bosa. Now, Bosa wins at 3 yards, 5 yards, or 7. He wins wherever you ask him to win at. You go get a Thibodeau, you're not going to do that. You're just going to ask him to win at 5 yards. And he's going to do that less frequently, but he will win at 5 yards for you. And that gives you the kind of pass rush where you don't have to blitz constantly. You can get home with 4. So, let me know in the comments what you guys think about some of those names. Is there anybody in there is there somebody that I'm missing? Is there anybody that you guys think might be available? There's an interesting thing with Thibodeau here that I'd like to go over. The Thibodeau's a 26-year-old rusher. Okay. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to bring up Thibodeau's contract and go over a couple of things. Because there's a really important thing to consider here with Thibodeau. So his cap number this year is $9 million. His dead money is $24 million. Sorry, that's pre-June 1. A trade post-June 1, it saves the Giants $5 million. It would cost the 49ers, I think, the other $5 million. So it doesn't cost much this year. And next year, the money goes entirely on. So the 49ers would have to cough up the entire $14.7 million. But that's all it is, $14.7 million, and that's because it's the final year of the fifth-year option. Now, Nick Bosa in 2025, this season, has a cap hit. Here, it's down at the bottom. Give me 1 second here. He's on IR. Cap number of 20 mil. Okay. He'll be back next season. Next year, his cap number is $42 million. A pre-June 1 trade costs you $33 million. Not happening. A post-June 1 cut literally cost $1, according to this. There's basically it's all dead cap, but you save the same amount that the cap number is $42,029,105. The dead money is $42,029,106. The dollar in negative cap savings. But a post-June 1st trade, a trade next offseason, after the draft, after training camp, he's healthy, saves $23 million. And that's money that can go towards the following season that can be rolled over. If you brought in a Thibodeau and he's a baller, this is the concern I've seen from several people. What happens if you bring in Thibodeau and he's a baller, and well, now you have to sign him to a long-term deal? Okay, so sign him. You sign him to a huge deal. He's not getting 40 like those other crazy ones. He'll get roughly the same contract that Nick Bosa got. And in 2029, his cap hit will hit $40 million when the salary cap is $350 million or whatever it'll be by then. You can bring Thibodeau in. He can be an absolute baller, and you can re-sign him to a long-term contract. It just means Nick Bosa won't be on this team in 2027. There's a scenario where you could have Nick Bosa, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Bryce Huff next season and have a nasty edge presence, a nasty pass rush, because Thibodeau is the kind of guy that can rush from the interior. Can you imagine if your rushers on third down passing situations were Bryce Huff, Nick Bosa, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Mykel Williams, both of them from the inside? It would be insane. It would be almost impossible to pass the ball on the 49ers in third and long. They'd have 7 guys covering 5, and you'd have like a half a second to throw the ball. I mean, it would be all-time coverage rates type of defense. If Thibodeau was awesome. He's been good, not great with New York. There is a chance that he's a great fit. Speaking of great fits, the conversation around our quarterbacks about who's better, who's worse, doesn't make much sense to me. Mac Jones had one decent season, got Rookie of the Year. That was with Daniels as his quarterback. I'm sorry, as his coordinator. Josh McDaniels, that is. He then had a train wreck coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball in New England before getting jettisoned to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, not much better, but better. So the question is Mac Jones the kind of quarterback that just needs good coaching and structure around him and he can be awesome? Or was just one game where he caught lightning in a bottle? Because we already did a video on the comparison between Mac Jones in week 1 and 4, Purdy, week 1 and 4, Mac Jones, week 2 and 3. Brock Purdy played better against stiffer competition with his wide receivers getting less separation, and having more drops. Everything working against Brock, and he still had better numbers. The only thing that Mac had that was better was he did not turn the ball over as much. But Mac Jones literally completes less than half of the balls that he throws more than 10 yards. That's simple. The reason it looks like he throws more checkdowns than Brock, by the way, he doesn't. Brock actually has a higher checkdown rate than Mac does. It's because Mac never throws the ball down the field. There's nothing to contrast it. Brock doesn't just throw the ball beyond 10 yards. He does so effectively. But it also gets him into trouble. Anybody with eyes can see that Brock has taken a step back. The reason that I was so excited about Brock when he came in the league is because it's impossible for a guy who's a third-string quarterback who gets no reps, who's a rookie who just got to the NFL, to step on the field and play that well against the kind of pressure that he was facing the first 2 or 3 weeks. It's impossible. You can't do it. And he did it anyway. In my mind, the processing, the poise, the accuracy, especially the accuracy under the fire while getting hit. Okay, he seemed to play fine from a dirty pocket. If you anticipate that he's going to get better at everything, his mindset, his work ethic, everything is there for him to improve. And he didn't. For me, the cutoff is the Ravens game. He was sort of never the same after that. I don't know if maybe the Ravens broke his confidence or something. He seemed to recover it some during the playoffs that year, so he actually played pretty well. Played poorly in the first half against Detroit, but then won in the game in the second half. Played excellent. He seemed to recover a bit. He played really well in the Super Bowl. Every time he left the field in the fourth quarter and overtime, his team had the lead. Every time. Well, except I think they took a knee, or there's one possession where technically they didn't. But every time they were trying to move the ball and score points, he left the field with the lead. Fourth quarter and overtime, he played well. Then the 2024 season happens. Too many dirted balls. Too many missed layups. Those are the things that really bother me. You can't miss the layups. He's throwing the ball into bad situations, making bad decisions. He's playing like a journeyman backup, not a premier starter. I was hoping he would correct his mistakes this offseason. It's better. It's not better. It's better than it was last year. It's not better. It's not fixed. Mac played really well in week 2 and in week 3. Played against poorer defenses than Brock did in 1 and 4. But this conversation is not about who's better. Because this decision has to be made of who's the better fit for the team right now. And it might be Mac Jones. I love Brock. I'm a Brock guy. I'm a 49er fan first. If Mac's the better quarterback, I want him to play. If he's the better fit, I want him to play. And there's one thing that stands out to me that suggests Mac might be the better quarterback. He can play from a dirty pocket. Early on, Brock played really well under pressure. Destroyed blitzes. Go back and watch those first couple of games. He got blitzed constantly. Something happened. Brock has totally lost the ability to throw an accurate, catchable ball unless his feet are planted or he's on the run left or right. If he's in the pocket and the pocket's dirty and he can't set his feet and throw, ball sails. Mac doesn't have that problem. And against this, with this offensive line, especially with the philosophy that the 49ers approach the offensive line with, Mac Jones might be the better fit. Not because he's a better quarterback, because he's a better fit for what this team needs from their quarterback. Somebody who just sits in the pocket, stays in the pocket, and figures out the offense from the pocket. Sometimes I feel like Brock has to move because he can't throw from the dirty pocket. The windows aren't there. The throwing lanes get closed down. You'll see people say, oh, there's not pressure yet. Well, yeah, but if he doesn't have a throwing lane to throw to his guys, he's got to get out of the pocket so he can throw it to him. That's why he's bailing, and it looks like, oh, he bailed early. No, he bailed because he needs a window to throw the ball through. Not every time, but that happens as well. Mac doesn't have that problem. Mac's a human joystick for Kyle. Kyle puts in the play. Mac goes, bloop, bloop, bloop. A, B, target, acquired, throw ball, hit pass. He's Kyle's robot on the field. Purdy does a lot of the same things. They have a very similar skill set. Mac has a better arm, throws a better ball from a dirty pocket. That one thing might elevate him above Brock as a fit for this offense. I'm not afraid of a quarterback who throws some YOLO balls, who pushes the ball down the field and throws a bad one every once in a while. However, when that quarterback is throwing interception after interception on first fucking down, throwing into coverage, bad balls and bad decisions on early downs. And I'm not just talking about this season. Brock threw a ball into double coverage with 3 players open underneath on second down last season against the Rams. It cost us a game. What he was doing at the end of the year last year, what he was doing in the middle of the year last year, he's still doing. He didn't fix it. If you combine that with the fact that he doesn't play well from a dirty pocket, he lacks the physical tools. I don't know if Mac's a better quarterback than Brock, but I'm starting to think he might be a better fit. If you guys agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, please comment, always like, subscribe. We need you guys. I appreciate everybody being here with me tonight. If you made it all the way to the end, I really appreciate that. We're going to keep this thing rolling. We're going to keep it rolling. I've got another video coming out Friday, and I'll be on again with the coach next Tuesday on the neutral zone. Until then, signing out.